Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out today's broadcast. My name is Jonathan, and today is day 377 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. If this is your first time checking out my broadcast, a little bit about me. I'm 39 years old. I'm married. We have 4 children. Our oldest is 10. Our youngest are 5. I've been overweight my whole life. I really got to a point last year where I had gotten to my heaviest weight ever, and I knew I needed to do something to lose the weight. Over the course of my life, I've lost weight in a number of different ways, but never been able to maintain that weight loss or to sustain it for any amount of time. And so I created this challenge with a couple big goals in mind. The 2 big ones is that I knew I needed to focus on this for longer than I've ever focused on it before. And so that's why I created this 3-year challenge. That way it would give me time to lose the weight and find a way to maintain that weight loss. Also, by stretching it over 3 years, it wasn't like a sprint either. So many times in the past, I've been losing weight and it's always been about just losing it as fast as I can and every day getting on the scale and being lighter than I was the day before. And this time I wanted the focus to be more on changing my life and finding a way of living that works for me. The other big thing about the challenge was that in the past, I've always kind of put what I would say are half-hearted goals out there. A lot of times I would make a goal to lose as much weight as possible before an event or to lose 100 pounds. And when you're over 400 pounds or when you're, as big as I was, losing 100 pounds is great, but it still leaves me at a very heavy weight. Like I'm at right now. I've lost 200 pounds so far. I'm 315 pounds. I'm still overweight. I am extremely happy with the success that I have experienced so far, but I know I'm not done. And so that was a big part of me putting out the goal of losing 300 pounds. Because I easily could have put a goal out to lose 100 or 200 pounds, and I've reached those goals. And where would I be, and so that was a big thing for me, is to continue to push this and for my focus to be getting down to a much healthier weight for somebody my size. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your guys' non-scale victories. Let me know how your diets are going. Any questions for me, let me know as well. Since yesterday, kind of had a decently busy afternoon. Wasn't expected. Didn't have any plans for the evening. So the fact that we did anything was a surprise. Got home, had one of our basic dinners. We have what was called mega veggie chili. It's oatmeal. It's got oatmeal in it, and then all kinds of stuff. Just like a mega veggie. So it's like all kinds of veggies. I think there were some veggies that Carrie left out of the mix yesterday, just because we're really trying to focus on getting our kids to eat these foods. And so last night we didn't give them another option at the dinner table. All we had was the mega veggie chili. And really the kids responded to it well. It's a pretty simple meal, with our kids. The biggest, they're all willing to try a little bit. They don't sometimes give it much of an effort. Last night, again, it was a 50-50 thing where half of them ate their whole bowl, said it was amazing or it was great. Then the other half are complaining about textures and flavors and things like that without really even giving it one of them didn't really give it a chance. But it's a struggle that we're going through, but we're going to get through it. And a big thing, in my opinion, is that we have to really try not to give in to the kids. because the more we give into them, then they're going to expect us to give in, or they're going to find the ways to get us to give in. Anthony's saying, hey, Anthony, I hope everything's going great for you today. So dinner was good. And we really got them to eat, for the most part, we got them to eat enough of it. After dinner, like I said, we didn't have any plans. There's a movie that my wife had been telling the kids that we would take them to see at the theater. And then we have a bunch of different subscription services, but she found that the movie was actually on HBO Max, which is a subscription service that we have. And so she had said to them that we could watch Clifford the Big Red Dog at home. And they got not mad, but they gave her a hard time because she had told them that we might go to the theater to see it. And we were talking about it last night. And the way it works out is that Carrie had signed up at the theater for this subscription thing where we pay a monthly fee and we get a discount on concessions, but we also get some movie tickets for a discount, or we get some bonus things. So it didn't end up costing us any extra money to take the kids to the movie because we haven't gone for a very long time. And we had these bonus tickets. Well, it did cost us money, which I'll get into, but the tickets themselves didn't cost us any money. And as we were talking about it, we wanted to just stay home and make popcorn and not have to fight the kids about buying popcorn at the concession stands, things like that. It would have been easiest to just watch the movie at home. But thinking about it, it wasn't going to cost us much money other than if we bought any type of concessions. And so I decided, Carrie had actually already looked up the movie time and so we decided to go to the movie. And it was kind of an impromptu thing, but it's something that even without everything else that's going on in the world in the last few years, we never would have really just up and went to a movie. Carrie has taken the kids to movies a lot more than I have. And that's part of the reason why she had the subscription thing or whatever we have with the movie theater. And so I thought, why not? Let's go to the movie. It also, gives us the chance to make our kids behave in public a little bit. It's something that is, we just doesn't have, it's weird. Like, we don't do a lot of in-store shopping, or we don't do as much in-store shopping as we used to do because we're able to order our things online. And, so our kids, we don't take them into we do it more, like we notice it when we do it now, I guess, or we pay attention. And so anyways, I'm glad we went to the movie with the kids. We stopped there's a natural grocery store that's like in the parking lot at the movie theater. And so we stopped there and let the kids get some snacks. Don't tell the movie theater that. And then we had them buy drinks, or we bought them drinks at the movie. It was a good movie, Clifford the Big Red Dog. It's a good kids movie. I think all the kids liked it, even our oldest, who was not a big fan of going to it. He would have much rather gone and seen a Marvel movie or something, but I think in the end he liked the movie. It was good for all ages. And then so that kind of ran us late into the evening. And so we got home, got the kids in bed, and a thing popped up on my feed. I talked about it yesterday that I had watched a documentary called They're Trying to Kill Us. And I didn't really know of any other documentaries that were coming out. And then yesterday in my news feed, there was a link or some information about another new documentary that I think came out on Monday of this week called Plantwise. And it is not really a super long movie. I think that It might have been 45 minutes or 50 minutes long overall. And so, let me just see if it says how long it is. I think it was like 47 minutes. Yeah, it's like 45-minute long video. And it talks about, it's really funny. It's similar. It's completely different subject people, like different people they're talking to. And it is not nearly as much about like the systemic or like the system, but it is a movie about a bunch of people who have switched to a plant-based diet and have had a bunch of success. They're one of the guys, the he's now the one of the people that they interview. He's now the mayor of New York, I believe, that he is plant-based. They talk to him a little bit about his transformation. There's a few ladies. One of them was over 350 pounds when she started, and she looked like she had lost a couple 100 pounds. And it was really neat to kind of hear their stories, what got them to switch or to look into it. And then there was a lot of great doctors. I think Neil Barnard was in this a lot. And then Dr. Greger was in it as well. I'm not sure who else, but there was a lot of great information in the documentary. Again, it was filmed similar to that other one in that it was a lot of like short, like 5-second sound bites or 3-second video clips, kind of, they didn't necessarily have a stream of like a protagonist or somebody they were following. It was just a mix of a bunch of different people, and then kind of how their transformations, the things that the change in their lives. I mean, it's I don't know, maybe I'm not seeing these things because I'm not looking for them, but there have been a lot of fairly long or fairly lengthy documentaries that have come out in the past couple of years about eating a plant-based diet and about the health benefits. And it's just amazing that there's so much more information out there than I ever would have thought of going into this. Again, and I know I talk about it a lot, but I never intended to eat a plant-based diet when I started this 377 days ago. So when I see this information and it's presented so matter-of-factly too, like it's not like these doctors are talking about reversing and curing the leading causes of death among our entire population. Dr. Greger, I've heard him say it more than one time, but if it's, it's shown that a plant-based diet can reverse the effects of the leading killer of our population, then why wouldn't that be the default diet of everybody? Like the diet that's going to cause the least amount of death among our population, and then you would deviate from that. And that's not the way our system is set up or our diets are set up. And, and I just don't know. I just wish it was something that people would, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I just never would have accepted that this diet would have been I don't know. Like I said, it's listening to them speak so matter-of-factly, and it's hard for me not to be speaking matter-of-factly as well. Carrie says, "Woo, barely made it." Hey, I hope everything's going great at home today. But just I worry that I'm going to say something that's wrong or that isn't, that can be torn apart. But I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's not like there's a ton of people listening. But at the same time, I want to be sitting here like, if you're overweight and you are trying and you're fail, like I saw a stream or not a stream. I saw a thing today where somebody was asking about how tough they lost 100 pounds. They started at over 500 pounds. They'd lost 100 pounds. They didn't really feel like they were noticing a difference in themselves, and they were struggling to keep motivation going. And I'm like reading, and I want to write a message to this person, and like, the diet you're on is making you obsess about your weight. Like, when I was last night, me and Carrie talked about it last night, actually. Every other diet I've been on, I've been counting the pounds till I could eat again. I was counting all right, I got to get under 300. I got to go down to 285, or I got to lose 100 pounds, or I got to make it till this wedding that's coming up in October. And you just sit there and you count the days, you count the pounds until, all right. And then once I get down, like you daydream about all of the things you're going to eat, then all of the things, because you're eating these restrictive diets that you're starving all the time and all you think about is food constantly. And so you have a hard time noticing, like, this diet is so different than any diet I've ever been on. And it's right. Counting the pound, Carrie says, counting the pounds so you can eat normally again. I had somebody send me a message that was criticizing the length of time that I dieted. I should have fasted longer and I would have lost more weight. And then if I would have fasted for longer, I could have fasted until I got to a healthy weight, and then I could eat normal again, is what they said. What I'm realized, and I've known, I never ate normal. You can't tell somebody who's 500 pounds, fast, and then you can go back to eating normally. I never ate normally. There was nothing normal about my diet. And people assume that, like, if you're a healthy weight and you eat a normal amount of food, it's not even like, if you're a healthy weight and you don't have a problem with overeating or a problem with, but you're not comparing the calorie density. Even if you're eating the same volume of food I'm eating, when I was eating that way, the calorie density of the food I ate was through the roof. The oil and the dairy in that just skyrocketed it in the calorie counts. And so this diet is the first diet that I feel like I'm eating normally right now and I'm still losing weight. And that's what, like, for years, that was my goal. That was my, like, man, like, and I've said it a lot. And I think I said it in the stream, if I could just figure out how to eat like somebody who's a healthy weight can eat, and I was thinking that all I had to do was take what I'm eating in a day at the time. And if it's 6,000 calories, then I just eat a third of it. But what I didn't know is that it's not possible. Your body fights you tooth and nail because the foods I was eating in that 6,000 calorie diet were extremely high calorie, low volume foods. And so for me to only eat 2,000 calories, that's just eating my breakfast then. And then that breakfast is a couple breakfast sandwiches, some hash browns, like it's not sustainable for the long term. And this diet is the first time that I'm eating large volumes of food, not concerned at all about overeating. Because even if I am overeating, even if I do eat too much of something, I'm overeating avocados or cashews. I'm overeating mango pico de gallo. I'm overeating oatmeal with bananas and apples in it. Like the overeating I'm doing now is as guilt-free as I can have. Child of C, people think that the reason why people are so skinny on a standard American diet is because they eat less, but they are able to be more satisfied because they may have more sensitive fat receptors. Yeah, I mean they're still not eating as much as I was eating. Like at 520 pounds, spending $430 a month just on myself and fast food. There's nobody that is on the standard American diet that's eating what I did and still skinny. So it's tough, like there's when you get into things like the fat receptors and things like that, I don't know. I don't know much about that stuff. And I would be willing to bet that the studies that they've done on that and that the people that they're looking at are people that are in much closer to normal weight ranges than I've ever been to. So like if it's a difference between somebody being 180 pounds and 250 pounds because of their fat receptors, that I could see that, but I don't know that it's why somebody is the 180 versus 520, like there's a lot of things going on that create the difference in person. Carrie says overeating oatmeal. I don't think that's even possible. We had oat groats this morning, and I think that's about the only time I get I get full on oatmeal, but when we have oat groats, it seems to be even more filling. And I think that's just they talk about it in the book, How Not to Diet. He talks about the studies they've done and eating closer to the whole, oat groat versus steel cut versus rolled oat, versus like powdered, pulverized oat. They eat less oat groats than any of them, from what I understand. It's very filling. Yeah, so filling. And so but yeah, I guess what I kind of started off with this, but I was just saying is that watching that movie Plant-Wise and seeing there's so much more about nutrition than I don't know. It's so hard to because I kind of want to say that we didn't give nutrition enough credit, but I also feel like I always knew that it was what I was eating that made me fat, and so it's tough to, I guess we just didn't give as much weight to the nutrition as I did the calories before. And now I'm finding that eating this plant-based diet is been the best diet I've ever found for sustaining it for a length of time as well. I mean, I'm a year in at this point, and I am not looking for a way out of the diet. I feel like in the past I was looking for a way out of the diet I was in, or for it to be over. And there is no it to be over this time. It is the way of life. And even like with our diet, like I thought we were going to be eating a super restrictive, whole food, plant-based, no salt, oil, or sugar. And I don't feel restricted at all. It's been the most, like, I eat a wider variety of food now than I ate a year ago. The number of items that I eat, like the different, I got rid of the main meats and then dairy, like those are the things I got rid of, those 5 things, 6 things. But I added so many more, so many things I never allowed into my diet, and simple things like rice, cucumbers, celery, the KO asked, did you ever feel pressured to get a gastric bypass? I never felt pressured from outside sources to get a gastric bypass. And my, for me, what gastric bypass, when I think about gastric bypass in me, is that I've always been like, well, that's on the back burner. I'll always be able to do that. If it ever gets to a bad point, I'll just walk into a doctor's office. I'll say, hey, put me on a scale. They'll weigh me and they'll say, when do you want to go have surgery? And I know there's things you have to do. You have to go and do psych evaluations and you have to lose some weight, but I would have jumped through whatever hoops that they would have had me do to get the surgery. Like I've felt like I've always qualified for a gastric bypass surgery as long as I've been an adult. And so, but I never had any like health scares, like Carrie gives me a hard time because I always would say, I've never had a bad blood test, but I've also never gone to a doctor and got a blood test when I was in my worst physical condition, or when I did, it was a decade ago before I started working with that doctor. So, I would not, with the bypass, I'm so happy I never did. And Anthony says, do not do a bypass unless you have to. I think Anthony had some experience with that, but, I saw a video of somebody else the other day that was electing to do a bypass, and it like where I'm at now, like if you're feeling pressure to do a bypass or you're thinking about doing a bypass, like Anthony says, really try not to, but, try a plant-based diet first. I wish every doctor would sit there and say, hey, do a plant-based diet for a month and then we'll talk about it. But nobody does, because I don't think people would come back. I think they would stick to it. Anthony says it's a mixed blessing. I imagine he's talking about the bypass. You do eat less food, but you still have to learn how to eat still, KO says it's sad how easily pushed gastric bypass is. My friend at 33 did it to himself. And then, yeah, Anthony did have a bypass. Yeah, I've had some people I know close to me that have had it, and some also like friends or people that I went to school with had it since high school. I know of 1 or 2 people, and it's one of those. It's a tough subject, because it is pushed as like the easy fix. And it might have been some movie I watched recently. They were talking about it, or maybe it was, the guy from the physicians committee, the exam room, he had a bypass and then he switched to a plant-based diet, which I think is extremely difficult. I think to eat the volume of food I eat, it's got to be tough after especially right after a bypass. Carrie says she's had family that has had it with various levels of success, and it isn't the fix that many people think it is. Right. There's, I didn't know, Child of the Sea says, I would call going plant-based the easy fix. It is. Like I had written out like a thing that I would love it if there was a setup where they came in and you did a reset on your life like you do with a gastric bypass or whatever you do, sleeve or whatever they are, is a huge shift in your life. And you have to change your diet weeks prior to get ready for the surgery, because they want you to be in your best possible condition, because there is a higher failure rate to this as far as life and death than you would expect. But if instead of, so you switch your diet up, you get rid of the stuff you're addicted to, you get rid of the sugar, you get rid of the caffeine, whatever, but you get rid of the highly processed foods, the dairy and those things. And then for 2 or 3 days, you do a fast, like a juice fast or a mono diet, or if you can actually fast, and that would represent like the time that you had surgery. So you change your diet, you get rid of the addiction, you get rid of the addictive stuff. Instead of going in for surgery on a Monday morning, you switch to a plant-based diet on a Monday morning, and then, or you switch to mono diet or something, but then you switch to a plant-based diet. And that like, that's just as dramatic as a change in people's diets. Like switching from the way that I was eating to a plant-based diet was probably as dramatic of an effect as if I would have had bariatric surgery. And so, Carrie's asking if if having the bariatric surgery makes it hard to eat a plant-based diet. And he said the hardest part about switching to a plant-based is convincing other people to switch to a plant-based. But it says it helps, but it affects how you process food and medicine. Yeah. I talked a little bit about it too in a previous stream. I'm not sure, but I mean, technically, if this wouldn't have worked out, if I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now with this stream, like if I'd have started, like this was my, I don't know if it was my last ditch effort, but it was one of, like, if I can't do it this time, then maybe I just can't do it, is what I kind of felt going into this. And so, this whole kind of 3-year challenge has been my avoidance of going down that path. Because, I'd like to think that I would succeed if I did have the surgery, but it's a tough call. I mean, there's so many, I know a lot of people, not a lot, but I mean, it's probably 50. It's not 100%. It's not even, I bet it's not even much over 50% that the people that have the surgery lose the weight and keep it off. I've seen a few people lose the weight and then gain it back. And, right. I'm just looking at Anthony's comment about the hardest part about switching to a plant-based diet is convincing the people around you to switch. It's really been extremely difficult. I mean, I talk about it with the kids a little bit here because those are, we're trying to get them to switch. And with our younger kids, they are a little bit, actually, I would say our toughest holdout is our oldest, our 10-year-old boy. But he also gets by with the fact that he can kind of take care of himself a little bit. So if he doesn't want to eat something, he can go make himself a sandwich, or we can make him do other things. But the just, them, we get to choose what they eat. So we're getting to kind of make them switch. Um, we're trying to get them to make better choices when we're not around. And then, but it's the other people around too, like I'm fortunate that Carrie switched to this diet at the same time I did. My brother, has switched to a vegan diet, and he has kind of difficulty because his wife and kids don't eat the same diet as he eats. But I see a lot of people in my life that I wish that I mean, my mom watches these. I don't know if she'll see this one in particular, but she should switch to a plant-based diet. You should, if you're watching this. But it's at a certain point, it almost becomes a joke. Like it's almost a comedy thing, like uh, that I suggested, and they just laugh it off, and it feels crazy. But so our son, he does try everything, and that's all we can really ask, is what Carrie says. And that eventually he'll get sick of his peanut butter sandwiches eventually. Yeah. But and I feel like, I guess I have lots of opinions and lots of feelings that I don't know that I can fully put out there or express to people, because I also don't feel like I'm there yet. I haven't completed it, and it's weird, uh, because I don't see myself as being 200 pounds lighter yet. I think that it takes a while for our brain to kind of catch up both ways. Like gaining the weight, I never really grasped that I was ever over 500 pounds. And until the first time I got on a scale and saw the number 500, I don't think I would have ever, I would have run, probably 490, something like that. I wouldn't have expected to see 515 on the scale the first time I ever saw myself over